Hello and welcome back to Planet Coaster. We will be working on the slums some more this episode. Hopefully, next episode we'll be working on a ride, so I hope you guys actually look forward to that bit. But this episode, we're not quite done with the slum area just yet. There are a few outlying buildings that need to be constructed after this, but also the ride and those environments. So without further ado, let's just kind of hop into what we're doing here. Now, each of these little buildings, I do want to have either a shop or utility function in them somewhere. So that is the challenge that we had to kind of overcome with the weird build shapes, but also how they interact with each other and things of that nature. So what we're going to start off doing is just laying down some rough shapes here to try and get a pattern going in terms of sci-fi detail. Now, luckily the sci-fi theme comes with all these bits and parts that we can throw together in a variety of ways to get a variety of effects, and overall it does work out for us. Though I think after we're done with the slums area, things might start to look a little repetitive, which is kind of a concern in the back of my mind, but hopefully with the introduction of the very high-tech area that we have planned, that will break itself and make itself look a little bit different than here. This is much more of a hodgepodge group of buildings and effects, even themes, like we're using some of the Western theme in here just to make it look, a little bit more run down. A clash of two technologies essentially with this. More piping, going to be interacting with the path this episode, and there's even some sign work going to be happening. We do have edible signs at this point in the beta, and they are rather large. They're a little hard to work with and to get kind of the effect that you want. There's some tricks that I can explain here later in the episode, but essentially you can do some tricks. Anyways, this building here is going to have some main connecting pipes. Now these ones, unlike the previous episode, will go through the air instead of across the road that direction, and that's going to create some more depth, kind of more vertically in the sky box above the pathways. And these ones are basically producing pipes to the top of kind of this weird shoved into the ground kind of fueling station that we made before. And then those red pipes move on to the next building. So eventually with kind of the intertwining of the pipes and effects and buildings and other things, everything will just become kind of one cohesive item. We do have some skips, as this section did take quite the while to build. And I don't want to make the speed section too long. I am shooting for less than 20 minutes an episode roughly for you all. But we do have some more custom window work, trying to get still used to doing sci-fi builds. I'm still kind of, I think, stuck in a Renaissance mindset in the fact that I want to make these wood paneled homes, as that's kind of my comfort zone. This is very much not my comfort zone, so it does take me a longer bit of time to complete some of these elements. Though here, I think I really like this panel of a wall. It reminds me of Star Wars. It has these large metallic things with these tubings and pipes almost underneath in layers, and so it looks relatively nice, clean, and depth nonetheless. So these windows, they're going to get some orange effects, and then also we'll decorate the bottom trim of the windows with some more high-tech things later on, trying to figure out maybe to introduce some more canvas items here, potentially some more minor lights, because some buildings might have these smaller light points, and then other areas will have these larger two double bay windows like elements here, just to break it up. Having when I punch my mic in the face like a noob. Anyways, before that happened, yes, you don't want to use the large windows everywhere, but you also don't want to use the small windows everywhere. And that's the challenge of the balancing act that we're going to be going through. And these elements are kind of really the only backlit windows that we have. I kind of wish the Western themed or the fantasy themed had some backlit windows just for the night's sake, having a nice warm glow coming through. Now this is the kind of lower technological panel going across the window there, just to make that actually feel a little bit grounded, so the window isn't going straight to the grass level there. And then this pipe here actually goes underneath the path. So unlike the other one, that one's underneath the path completely. And you might be wondering, well, Uthris, why is the other one above the path? As you pointed out last episode, there's a little bit of a health hazard, and I just say fuck it. Why not? I think it looks cool, and the rule of cool will pretty much always apply 100% of the time. We do mess with some of the new custom shapes this episode. These are actually very versatile, and I wouldn't mind getting into them a little bit more, understanding some cool combinations to use in the long run. But I couldn't find anything to seal off the top of those windows, and so I figured, hey, the custom shapes are here. You might as well use that to the best of our ability. Maybe make a custom, larger, thicker pipe than we have access to by default. And, you know, the white connecting tips with some black. The red bit is really, in my mind, just a whole bunch of insulation. And that thin bit is actually the exposed pipe itself. Now, it would be pretty cool if we had like a little valve, because it would be cool to put a valve on there and add a little bit more detail. But you can kind of skip over that. It is being played from generally a farther view distance. Using a bit of the smokestack from the train as effects on almost like it's like a water pipe of some kind up on top there. And, you know, that little smoke effect from the train I think looks really good. If I can keep a train of thought going. Oh, train puns today, guys. We're not playing Transport Fever though. That'll be tomorrow. Anyways, what we have here is another great kind of overhang bridge area with some pipes going underneath of it. Now this to me is very much a sci-fi look. It's these very industrial pipes running across pathways and creating bridges, and these are very high-tech areas and very industrial areas, and that I think that lends itself quite well. Though I'm going to be coloring some of these elements black just because I think that looks a little bit better than the bright red going on right now, and plus some of the building itself will end up being red after we color it all, which you guys will get to see kind of more in the finish section. This here is, I was thinking about making it more of like a factory. You can see the tin roof there, maybe some gears, not 100% sold on that. We want to get more moving parts though, and you know, for the theme of, you know, trying to keep some rustic elements and the high-tech stuff clashing together, possibly that they have a little windmill here. It would be cool to see a more futuristic windmill, but I think the old one just adds a little bit of character nonetheless. Now, over here on the right side, I built a little platform. This is just for looks, doesn't really provide anything in the long run, but this is just a little storage bay to the right, and helps fill in some of the dead space that you run into kind of spacing buildings out like this. Usually you're going to have facades kind of next to each other in this continual wall of interest. In our case, it's more like separate buildings, and then we have to come up with ways to fill in the dead space in between the buildings, and this is kind of how you end up doing it. You just make up a story as to why things are there, and you just throw shit in it, and it works out. So we have, you know, wooden elements here. We have exposed panels that are possibly waiting to be in use. Some crates, smaller objects, just clutter in general. A landing gear just landing against the wall there. Now, we're also going to cover this section with a little bit of the corrugated metal and just put some posts in there. And then I believe also last episode, you guys wanted to see an animatronic, possibly one of those little alien rat creatures, and we put that in that little area as well, just to make sure he has a little home possibly, and it's a shaded spot that I think it works in general. Some of the canvas just to break up the border of the tin shed, you could say, and then at this point it's pretty much 100% of the little detailing of, you know, the plates interacting with the path, covering up some of the ventilation and some of the lights here that will cast a wonderful shadow and bring out some details here later in the episode when I can show you guys what the nighttime actually looks like. And I think this is one of the parks that I really enjoy looking at nighttime, just because of the windows being bright and contrast there, and then also we have signs going in and elements of just this nice constant glow, very sci-fi futuristic that we're looking forward to. Now, a bit of nature around the beginning of the park just to match the other side. It's sparse, more rocks, more dead things than alive things over in this section. And then even we'll throw in some high-tech stuff here, possibly old storage things partially buried in the ground where it's being overtaken a little bit by nature, and it's just marking the edge of the park. And as we progress back, I do want to make a more fake facade, a sci-fi facade to surround this whole area to make it feel a little bit more caged in than it actually is, and hopefully that'll turn out nicely. Don't quite know how we're gonna handle that though. Here, some grading and some path work, possibly retexturing, trying to come up with ways to just make this area look not to say crappy, but run down is what we're going for. So a metal grate that was kind of installed over the base ground, and then just tiles upon tiles. So let's go ahead and take a look at everything colored and looking nice in real time, and you guys can let me know what you think after that. Alright, so I hope you all enjoyed the speed build today. Now, as you can tell, we aren't quite done with the slums just yet. There's a lot of little details to throw in, a lot more kind of these vertical elements with these horizontals kind of interacting with the pipes. As you can see, this element here is doing such a thing. Also, you guys wanted some SFX stuff. I'm going to keep it light early on. I don't want to have too much due to frame rates, because this is going to be a fairly large park once we actually get into the bulk of it. So right now I'm just using some light steam and things around here, like around kind of the refueling tanker that's just kind of shoved into the ground, and then also just some of the grates have some effects coming out of there, and they do make a nice little effect and add a little bit of movement in the background. Again, we might add some more animatronics later on, but what we built today was this structure here, which is a big old structure, a lot of piping, a lot of little details kind of overlaying it, and then what's inside of it is the medical center, which I aptly went ahead and made a sign for med packs, obviously. Good choice there. And there's also a little ATM attached to the side. I'm gonna have to probably redo the pathing here just so that we can get these nice and flush and kind of centered. But the color scheme in general for the new couple buildings is these rusty, kind of really broken down look. In fact, this one will have a little scaffolding area with some drapery just kind of hanging off of it, storage units, things just kind of cluttering up the entryway, just to make this whole park just feel a little bit more grounded in general. And it just helps to have a lot of weight at the bottom of your buildings, and then up top, you have just some of these spires sticking up. You guys also, I think, wanted some more lower to the ground shots, so this is what we have here so far. The custom window piece that we built on camera with the Just a Momento shot next to it. Now, this building isn't fully colored just yet. In fact, I do want to recolor a lot of these little building elements, and that's kind of a final step just because of the minor glitches that are in beta. I can't really go in and color them as we go. It's a bit of a problem. Some notifications. Yeah, it's mainly just the ride complaining that it's not hooked up yet, which we'll be doing next episode. So beyond that, here is kind of the light factory storage area with one of the animatronic little sleeping drats kind of underneath in the shade of that tin rough kind of storage structure. It's very thrown together with canvas even on top of that. And we have catwalks going up to large piping units, large set of windows here just to try and break up all the gray, but hopefully when we colorize this will pop out even more. Being able to introduce some larger structures just to take up wall space is really going to save us time, hopefully in the long run, but I am a little worried that things will start to look a little too much of the same, and so what it comes down to is the little nitty-gritty details and the coloration of them. Also, as we work in these interacting objects on the pathway, you can see that's going to interact there. We have some pipes stacked up here. Also, this little covered area going across over a little new restroom. And that's pretty much where we are currently. It's just taking a lot of time to throw in, everything that I want to make the park feel really cluttered, claustrophobic a little bit even. And so we're just going to have to extend this on to another set of episodes. But next time, what I hope to have done for you guys is the skin for our wild blue, and then the queue line and everything, so that we can actually get a ride going and things like that. Now this is actually going to cap off the left side of kind of the slums in general. What I have planned here is these are going to be F-63 kind of condors from Elite Dangerous, and they are going to have a little bit of a hangar bay that you're going to be queuing through with some F-63s. I'm going to try and make those kind of park there, and then this is going to be some sort of runway launch tower type of thing. So in mind's eye, instead of these little winged elements, these would be little F-63s that you'd be sitting in, which would be pretty cool to think of. And then that just kind of caps off the left side. The right side, what I have planned here, this is going to be the main station for the Metro Rail system, which will take us actually out from here and into the main park area, which will be out there a little ways. For some reason, I want to create some distance in this one. Not everything all in one spot, just creating some distance, and it will create a use for the monorail system in general. So for the final little section here, let's go ahead and switch it to night so you guys can see so far what it's looking like here. Just gotta wait for the lighting to catch up. There we go. So all the signs do light up the area, and in fact they do cast a little bit of a glow by themselves, which is pretty nice to get some reflective light going in sections. And you can inlay some things underneath the pathway so you can highlight areas, bring in a touch of color as well. And also, of course, we gotta have a Joe sign all lit up in that classic red gold color scheme, and hopefully more signs to come. I kind of wish there was a smaller sign to work with a little bit cleaner text. In fact, the text here is just a little squished. I don't quite like it in how we had to inset these into the building in general, just to try and get a smaller sign. And these are technically 4 signs in total, just to get the double-sided effect on it. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed today's episode, feel free to subscribe to my channel for more creative goodness such as this. Go ahead and leave a comment down below on what you guys think so far, what I should work on and towards in the upcoming episodes of Planet Coaster. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.